Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Tanks Bootcamp with Sethica. Now in this episode we are in the A44, the tier 7 Russian medium tank, which has the rear mounted turret and the actually surprisingly good armor. And I think actually the same gun that the T150 uses, the 107mm CIS-6. Or at least it's got the same kind of characteristics in that it's slow aim time, high alpha damage, and rather low accuracy. However, this is on a medium tank, so that allows you to get much easier, a much easier time to get into the enemy's face and simply bully them to death. And this tank has also got a lot better armor all around. It does have this cupola on top, which is a weak spot. However, the hull is really nice. Just look at this sloping, and I can't really remember the millimeters thickness it has, but it can definitely bounce some shots, which we are also going to be seeing in a moment. Now I'm going to put a giant disclaimer that what I'm going to be doing right now is very stupid. I was a bit impatient at this point in the night, and I had noticed that my entire team was behind me right now. Now, let's take a moment. I had noticed my entire team was right here, so my logic in that kind of situation is that I need to push. And that's fine. However, it is not so great to rush around here, because usually you can get caught out, and if there had been any light tanks around here, which there isn't, I can already spoil that for you, I would have been in a much worse situation since I could not control the engagement. So let's have a look. There's nothing at all. So instead of stopping there, I move forward, and I spot my first couple of tanks. However, I had not noticed this guy over here. However, he appears to be firing high explosives, so he's not much of an issue. I'm focusing on the AIL V39 here because, well, he's got a bit of DPM advantage, and if he hit my turret, or rather if he hit my cupola, I would have been in a bit of an issue. It would have been a bit of an issue. Now, the issue with moving forward this quickly, which is why it's stupid, is that I didn't really have any backup. As we can see, the VK2801 is only just now being challenged. Of course, had he fired something other than high explosive, this would have been probably been a bit worse, since he would have clear shots into my sides. But why does this work? Why does this situation here work? I can tell you, the KV-85 is the only one, as we are going to see in a moment. There we go. He put a shot right through my upper plates. Now, the reason he can do that is because that he's shooting down on me, negating a lot of the... And this guy is pissing me off a little bit, and he just put the KV-85 just put another shot right through me. However, I had good enough alpha damage, or DPM rather in this case, that it wasn't so much of an issue, and I could tank enough that I was rather safe. Of course, had there been just one more tank, this would have gone much worse. However, I wanted to show you this, also because it's hilarious, and it exemplifies why it's a good idea to rush. If you see your entire team on one side and you're in a tank that you feel like can probably survive quite a bit, it is in your best interest to goad them into being aggressive. Now, the way I did it in this match is a bit stupid, because had there been more enemy tanks here, I would probably have died before my team could have come support me. However, it worked out in the end, and that's something you're going to experience, that stupid shit sometimes does work out. And that's great, right? We all like a bit of stupid shit. We all like being the super aggressive heavy tank, rather medium tank with better armor than some heavy tanks. This little gun tank, because of its rear-mounted turret, it can just side scrape so beautifully. It is such a joy to play. And I know like the T150, people that's going to have a bit of an issue with the gun, and that's fair enough. I can certainly understand why you would. However, in this tank, I feel like the disadvantages of the gun is much more is compensated much more for, because you are much faster and you're effectively better armored than the T150, since, yeah, as I said in the start of the match, you are a beautiful little armored piece of shit. So, I'm going to take a little and eat this T150 here, who has the same gun as me. However, I'm a tier higher, and I think I've got a bit more DPM, higher rate of fire, and probably a bit more accuracy. Let's actually have a look at the stats here. 300 and 169, that's exactly the same as the T150. The tier 6. However, it does not necessarily look like this guy is using the T150 gun. He's definitely not. That's not the tier 6. It's flying much too fast. Now, I did expect him to die right there. So what you saw me doing was turning my hull towards him to try and give myself the better armor. And the K1 sadly stopped before I had a chance of doing anything. So, we won with rather few issues. Let's move on to the post-game stats and take a look at those. So as you can see here, this was a measly second-class mastery badge, even though I got myself a steel wall, cool-headed and first-class mastery badge. I also got myself 2748 experience earned at a 2x victory and a 40,051 credits earned gross. What those stats should tell you right off the bat is that people are getting marvelous games in this tank, and I understand exactly why. This tank is a beast. It handles like a medium tank, right? But it's got the same armor and the same kind of gun you would expect on a heavy tank. And it's rear mounted. It can side scrape like a god. You didn't see me doing it in this match, except against the A43, which was completely pointless because the A43 didn't ever stand a chance of penetrating me at that kind of range and that kind of angle. Now, I did twice the damage that the T-34-85 on my team did, and 700 damage more than the T-29 on the enemy team did. By far doing the most damage, and I blocked 2,200 hit points. That's enough to kill me twice, just so you're aware. That's not bad at all for a little medium tank, a so-called medium tank. And I got myself 28,815 credits net. This tank is not a medium tank. Let's get this straight. It handles like a medium tank. In fact, it handles like some... it doesn't really. Its traverse speed is up there with the lights, but the top speed is definitely not. And the specific power is not either. But it is such smooth riding that you don't really notice the irritation you get with the gun. It does still get that lousy long reload time of, what is it even? It's got a 5.71 rate of fire and 0.45 dispersion at 100 meters and 3.4 aiming time. So that's practically the same as the T150, and the T150 actually got a bit more rate of fire, I think. Let's have a look. Quick look here. A little bit more rate of fire, and other than that, it's the exact same gun, just on a tier 7 medium tank. But the A44 is better armored than the T150 is. Let's take a quick look here. I went out, straight out into the face of that KV-85 and that KV-3, which had the T-150's turret, so he was probably just stock. The threat that I faced in this match, and which almost killed me, was that KV-85, which I should have been focusing on rather than the French tank destroyer, because the French tank destroyer would have had a much harder time of penetrating me, even from his position. But I was worried about him moving around me, and that's really one of the things this tank can't handle. Where the T-150 at least is a little bit well armored on the sides, this is just not. It really is not. And it is going to get killed from the sides and the rear over and over. You need to keep the enemies towards your front. So I wanted to kill that little French tank destroyer, which I've forgotten the name of right now. And after that, I focused on the KV-85, because he was the most dangerous of the two. Had the KV-3 gotten his big gun and been able to penetrate me with any shots, I would have died in that situation. And that is merely because that I did not wait. What I should have done is wait just a little bit, not a lot. I didn't need to wait a long time, just a little bit, so that my friends were there when I rushed around the corner. The enemies would not have gotten much further than they did, and even if they did, I would have been able to side-scrape them better. Had there been artillery, I would also have been in a terrible position, because I was unable to move up. Had I moved backwards, I would have flattened my armor, making it even easier to penetrate me, right? So what I needed to do was stay down there. If there had been artillery, that would have been a no-go, and I would have probably died again. But what you also saw in the end was that this tank is more than fast enough to move all the way down to their base, and when I noticed that our team was crumbling over on the eastern flank, I wanted to go back and prevent them from capping, since that was the only way they were going to win. And of course they failed at that as well. However, the A44 was fast enough to simply barrel across the frozen wastes and just shoot, 3-shot the T-150, right? This punchy gun allows it to just ambush people, and they don't have a chance. It is a marvelous little tank. I've had so much fun playing it lately, and I'm not going to stop anytime soon. I would love for me to be as good in this tank as or rather, I would love to have as good a time in the Object 416 as I do in this tank, but the Object 416 is not well armored, and it's not something I am so good at, even though it's got the same kind of characteristics with the rear-mounted turret. But the lack of armor is what kills it for me. I love this armor. This armor, and it's so troll. People don't expect this tank to be so well armored. They just shoot at the frontal armor, and they think, oh, I'm a tier 9 heavy tank. Bounced! I've seen it happen a lot, and I love it every single time it happens, right? It is glorious. Such a fun little tank. Well, I wanted to show you this little quick replay because I found it hilarious. But I hope you enjoyed watching, and if you did enjoy it and want to see more in the future, please remember to vote, comment and subscribe. It really does help out tremendously. And again, since I'm still in the early stages of using this microphone, please tell me if you want some of the audio levels tweaked, and I'll do my best to accommodate you. And with that, have a nice evening!